Hey, what's up guys? I'm Jordan Troxel. I work for the number 14 of Cole Seeley at Factory Honda HRC. Kind of starting with the front of the motorcycle. I don't think anything really stands out like too particular for Cole. Him and Kenny both run the same bar bend, a factory AHR bend specific for these bikes, and him and Kenny both run it same length and everything, so nothing crazy there. Bob at ARC still supplies us with all of our lever things and a few other small things on the motorcycle. Bob does for us as well. Oddly, even with his long fingers, Cole runs his front brake really close to the handlebar. The lever ratio that he chooses kind of has a weird feel to it, like it's a really short throw. They both run Renthal soft half waffle grips. As far as mapping, him and Ken get a choice of kind of what they want on the track. There's nothing on the motorcycle they can change while they're riding. We do have a start map built specifically for each guy, and they have their choice and kind of what they want there as well. Yeah, over the last couple years, these carbon guards have came up on our master cylinders. All the teams are pretty much running them. Some guys have had problems with rocks damaging the housing and affecting the way the piston works, so that's just what they're for, some extra protection. Well, the clutch is a Works HRC piece, you know, that slave cylinder, and it's kind of a Works part made custom for these cases. But as far as the brake lines and the throttle cables, that's all 2019 production. Triple clamps, they're a Works HRC part. Like I said, the guys have a lot of options there as far as, you know, offsets. They can choose between what they want. Handlebar offset, we have a bunch of different options there, height-wise, adjustment in and out, things like that. 2019, Cole had the choice and chose to stay with KYB suspension components again. Ricky Gilmore still handling everything for Cole on that end. Cole chose to stay with KYB, and Kenny is running Showa this year. Whole shot device, a one button setup, so if I need to change anything, it has to be made in the plastic. It's a little deeper than some of the guys I've ran with before, quite a bit deeper than Kenny's. As far as the KYB lugs, pretty standard. We run a standard steel axle, front and rear. Our riders had their preference between that and titanium. These guys chose steel. Our hubs it's a Works part from Honda, HRC Japan as well. I think they're pretty cool. They do a really good job and hold up well, and we don't seem to have many issues, knock on wood. Dunlop still provides us with everything front and rear. We have some OEM rotors to choose from, as well as Yutaka rotors. Those are just kind of left up to rider preference, different thicknesses and the way they feel. If the pad is chamfered, it's just because we choose to do it to make tire changes easy in a situation like that. But it's like a factory Works Nissan front brake caliper, which is pretty cool. So the front carbon guard is something that we've kind of outsourced here in America, American Honda Motors. Radiators are actually their stock, it's an OEM radiator. Same with the louver. We just throw on a thin twin air mesh protector just to keep rocks and debris out from damaging any of our cords. So on top of the radiator, we have we've bumped up the pressure on the cap, so 1.8, and we run like a circular cap without the tabs on it, so that the rider's knee can't get in there and push it off. So our steering stem is still it's a Works part that goes along with the triple clamp. As far as the safety wire on there, just a second safety feature. So in addition to the radiators, we've changed a little bit of the routing as far as like the bung movement and the way the hoses work and flow, and just to cut some weight out. And HRC Japan has supplied us with blue hoses that kind of tie in with our graphic scheme a little bit. There's a backup starter, something that we've developed here at our shop, just in the event of a crash or something that would maybe break the one on the handlebar. There's one tucked in kind of underneath the frame the riders can go to as a backup. Right now our engine hangers are just the standard OEM hangers, tie bolts and aluminum nuts. Nothing crazy there, just try to save a little bit of weight where we can. Pretty nice. We have a really good engine department there in-house at Honda. Bob Reichman and his team, Wu and Josh, they take care of everything for us there. They do a really good job. Any numbers on the side of the head or on the side of the case, those are simply just a tracking number for the motor guys. They have so many coming in and out of there. You know, every tolerance is maybe a little different with each motor, so it's just a tracking number for those guys. Henson still supplies us with our clutch components, as well as Yoshimura takes care of the exhaust system for them. Those guys are on it and keep us supplied with what we need. Got some cool like a Works magnesium case and things like that try to save us a little bit of weight. Since I've got here, Cole's been kind of on his standard clutch springs, I would say. I mean, we have stiffer options to go to, so it's definitely not on the stiffest one. Rear brake assembly, it's just an OEM caliper in the rear, OEM line, a Works master cylinder, only in a sense vents that we just have the window taken out for safety issues. Just a couple aluminum bolts and nuts that go along with it just to save some weight. With a factory clevis, one interesting part about the clevis is, like in previous years, Cole installed the motorcycle a few times, so the clevis is designed with just some more play in it, specifically for Cole, just to give that rear brake a little bit more play to kind of help him prevent stalling. That's the OEM spring. We do have the option to change it with a stiffer rate or whatever if we need to, but Cole runs the OEM spring. Our foot pegs are factory HRC from Japan. A tie setup to save us some weight there. Pretty sharp. No real difference in foot peg height or anything like that between Cole and Kenny's bike. Our brake pedal's kind of been massaged a little bit with a different tip on it, a little bit stronger tip. It's pretty meaty as well to match the pegs. Standard brake snake that we just cut and make at the shop. Just in the event that he hits someone or catches a tough block or something, that if the pedal wants to try to fold back, it'll catch it before it wraps all around the peg. The safety wire you see around the brake lines, that's more just to keep the housings that are on the brake line in place and keep water from getting underneath of them. Actually, it's OEM swing arm pivot, nothing crazy there. While it's an OEM pivot bolt, Lars has done a little bit of work with length and kind of an aluminum nut on there to save us some more weight. The carpet bracket that you see right underneath the airbox, that's just a carbon replica of the stock OEM aluminum relay bracket. Honda has several different options with their link. Right now the guys are currently on an HRC Japan link, kind of specifically designed for this motorcycle. Right now it's just KYB shock, anodized red spring. You know, throughout the off season we do a couple different tests throughout the way, you know, as he picks up speed and everything like that. And then typically everywhere you go after Anaheim, you kind of end up stiffening things up. You know, once the guys get to the race, intensity comes up. First couple weeks of the season, like just going stiffer as the guys find new speed as the gate drops. This year KYB, we have 2 different rebound options that we can adjust, as well as 2 different compression options. Yeah, back on the rear, once again it's the HRC hub, and then we have kind of HRC spokes to match DID, LTX rim, Dunlops on the rear. We still change kind of from race to race, size of the rear tire, the pattern or whatever. Renthal does our chains, and then we kind of have a works, I won't really say works, but it's a special DID chain that we run. Gearing for the most part has been the same since I've been here. Supercross, the guys are pretty set. Obviously you have the choice to lengthen your wheel and the swing arm wherever you want, depending on chain length, but just with our gearing and where it falls, we're in a pretty neutral spot. There's a million different ways that you can kind of manipulate the geometry and the chassis and things like that, whether it's offset or lugs or linkages, but that's just kind of left up to the discretion of the team and the rider. After the guys get done with the engine package, Yoshimura gets a chance to kind of work their system around it and make sure everything is matching, and they can take data on the exhaust gases and see where things are at and where they need to move power around to. Shifter is a works part. Chain rollers, chain slider, chain block is all OEM. Throttle jockey, pretty pumped with them. They do a good job on the seat cover, and then they also do a really good job at trying to trim out graphics for us wherever we can to save weight, so I'm pretty pumped about that as well. Over here on the left side of our engine, it's coated ignition case, and you'll see our works slave cylinder over there with a cool little works guard, take place of the stock guard for the countershaft sprocket. With data these days, everybody's, like I said, everybody's running it, everybody's got something, and it's just to help the guys develop things for the future, and mostly just make sure everything's running correctly on race day. Just make sure all of our sensors are where they need to be. We go everything after practice, and the goal would be to spot something before it becomes a problem. Along with most of our OEM plastic, it's also OEM skid plate. Contrary to what most people think with the 450, they're so powerful right out of the box and off the floor that it's not so much a game of getting more power out of these things. It's just moving the power around in a more rideable fashion for the guys, where they can use all of it for longer kind of thing, and just smooth the power curve out where the guys want it. So as far as most people think, like, oh, it's a factory 450 motor, so it just makes so much horsepower, that might not always be true. It's just where the power's at and how it's rideable.